welcome to Women's Radio once again. And once again, I want to introduce a person that I hope you've already heard from in our earlier interview with Jerry Ashton. Jerry is a very unusual and very special gentleman. I'm so happy to have him. He was actually a debt collector, and through the Wall Street sit-in, he discovered, and people discovered him, and he became a debt reliever. He has helped millions and millions of people have their debt relieved, and it's because he knew the information from his own industry. Then he used it to be of service to millions and millions of other people. I think you're really, really going to love this next interview that we're going to do, that's going to add to what he talked about the last time. So I don't want to waste any more time. I want to put Jerry right on. I'm happy to introduce Jerry Ashton.
Thank you, Pat, for a second
Thank you.
opportunity. First of all, our initial interview was really great because we delved into some of the things that your audience right now is facing. And that is
a lot.
Oh, look at you and I are one accident and one illness away from financial tragedy.
It's so true.
Yep. And I know that because once upon a time I was a debt collector and I called on behalf of doctors and what have you to make sure that you got that payment in there. But that was back in the days when there was some form of civility. We don't have that anymore. Hospitals, well, there's the usual suspects, big hospitals, big pharma,
right,
insurance companies, and of course, Wall Street, and anybody that's got money to make, and they want to make money with the least amount of effort and the most amount of return. These are the people that have gotten into what we call a healthcare system. We don't have a healthcare system.
Thank you.
We have a series of isolated incidents that happen to pull together and presumably fix us. No, it's not happening the way that we need it to.
I know that we're going to talk about that, and we have also your friends, my friends at this point, that are involved in movements that will allow us to have real health care and not subsidizing drug companies and insurance companies and the like. I'm not saying that all those people are bad. I'm just saying some of those people are bad.
You're being polite. Yeah, the system
don't have good, not using good reasoning, not on earth.
The system is not broken. It's designed that way. Every single little nodule along the way between you and me getting healthy is someone who's there largely to make a profit. I'm not talking about the poor physician, and I do mean poor physician in relative to the kind of incomes that are paid these people that work in insurance companies, benefit advisors, what have you. But you and I are faced with, what do we do about it? And if you remember when we talked about how I created RIP Medical Debt with a partner of mine by the name of Craig Antico, we were two former debt collectors. We walked into Occupy Wall Street as debt collectors. We walked out of Occupy Wall Street as debt forgivers. And we learned a lot along the way. One of these things, which kind of shocked us, which is the theme for today, and that is veterans have unpaid and unpaid medical debt on their backs through the VA system to the tune of $6 billion.
No.
Yes. Now, you might
wonder. Why did I ever think that they got all their medical at no cost?
You know, I'm a veteran too. I'm a Navy veteran, I'm a Navy journalist, served my country. I came home. I didn't really go to the VA much because I had my own insurance, and years and years and years. And finally, I started using it satisfactorily. That was good stuff. But then I realized when we were running RIP Medical Debt, the charity that we created in order to find everybody's medical debt,
Right.
then buy it from debt sellers at pennies on the dollar and then forgive it. That was our job. But we discovered that there were a lot of veterans within these portfolios. And we found them by accident. You see, if you're sick and on a gurney being wheeled into emergency, you don't tell them your rank, your serial number,
No.
and it's not, they don't look through your wallets. So what you're looking at is the fact that by accident, we discovered that the VA indeed does not take care of everybody. And their excuse for doing that is because
They're busy.
you have to have a service-related illness or accident or injury. Has to
And
be
they have to determine that's true, and they often determine that's not true.
well, what they say is that's not true. I wrote a book along with a couple of my friends called "End Medical Debt," and our desire there was to cure America's healthcare crisis. And in this book that we wrote, I'm talking about the founders of RIP Medical Debt, there's a chapter called "No Thank You for Your Service." And it outlines 3 veterans who were treated exceedingly shabby for various reasons by the VA. Now, this is not, I want you to know I'm not anti-VA. I've got no bone to pick with them, but a wrong is a wrong and it needs to be righted. So we searched out these folks, we learned their stories, we put it in the book. And you know what? 5 years later, nothing's changed. The same policies and procedures that need to be changed haven't been changed. So we made it our desire with our new charity that we just created called End Veteran Debt. That's endveterandebt.org. We decided we were going to take on the VA as well as every other form of debt that snares America's heroes when they leave the service. And
Not
even
just medical debt, but a lot of other debt where people almost like target them, like they target seniors, for instance, and other people.
believe me, you and I are targets of somebody. Veterans, in addition, veterans comprise maybe 16 million Americans out of 300 and some odd million. That's about 8% of our population. But if you talk to the CFPB, Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, they will tell you that 30% of all complaints against collection agencies come from veterans.
Wow.
You will also know, as I learned because we decided to do research on this, and by the way I learned that number is by Craig Antico and I going to visit with a House subcommittee on veteran health, where they sat there and told us that was how much debt was sitting there unpaid.
Hmm.
And it'll never be paid. So we have a campaign going. I'll tell you folks to go there too. If you're interested, if you'd like to right some wrongs, go to endveteranmedicaldebt.org. Notice the word medical is in there. That's specifically to address that money that the VA holds. There's a petition there. And the petition says, VA, wake up, make this debt available for forgiveness. It's just a change in policy. It's not a legislative act. It doesn't require any lawyers working on things. Just change your policy and make that debt available. So with End Veteran Debt, look at the debt. If you're homeless, if you're suffering from PTSD, if you've been incarcerated for any reason, if you've got student loans and these phony schools that were started to take advantage of the veteran and their GI Bill, these sins have got to be addressed. And I want you to know I'm asking your audience
and the sinners, and the sinners,
oh,
and the
yeah.
sinners, the people who set it up, people we know, people who are in the news every day. We need to come to grips with what's true.
Well, I'll tell you who this patron saint is for veterans, and that's John Stewart. If you remember, if you might remember that in the last couple of years, there was an argument going on from the VA. The VA would not acknowledge burn pits.
Exactly. Yes, I remember.
For those who don't know what a burn pit, like in Iraq or some of those places, they would put all the old ammunition, not ammunition, but garbage, junk, unused
Tires,
equipment, and burn them. And the people that had to be around to service that pit, all oddly enough, started getting
terrible diseases.
cancers.
Yes.
And the VA would not honor those.
Yes, I remember. And has that changed?
Thanks to John Oliver.
Well, that's
No,
thank
not
you,
John
John
Oliver, John
Oliver.
Stewart. Thanks to John Stewart.
John Stewart.
So, like I say, he's a patron saint. We're looking for somebody like that to show up in our world too. But you got to have this. If people aren't aware of a problem, how can they do anything about it?
It's so true.
Which is
That's
why
why I'm so happy you're here. I
well,
think that our job is really to inform people, to bring people who really know and have a deep knowledge in a certain area, and to inform people so that they can take action. You're right. If you don't know, what action can you possibly take?
yeah. No, Americans at heart are the most gracious, generous people. More money comes per capita of somebody's income comes from middle and lower classes than from the rich.
I'm sure of that.
Yep. Like with RIP medical debt, our charity, when we first started it, nobody talked about medical debt in 2014. 10 years later, you can't open up a newspaper without some complaint about medical debt. We help get people aware of it. People like you who put us on their shows and said, listeners and viewers, you need to know about this. This is going
Exactly.
to happen to you. That's why I'm so
Exactly.
happy to be on this show.
Well,
Thank you.
I'm hoping that you're talking to, I know our audience, and we have an audience of doers and givers and leaders. And if anybody needs to know, it's our audience. And so I hope that everybody that's listening will share this with their friends, their family, et cetera, other people who are interested, and encourage them to take some action, whether that's to sign a petition or make a donation or whatever the action needs to be. I think that our own hearts, from once we are knowledgeable, our own hearts will tell us what to do next. But certainly, you can't take action if you don't even know what's needed.
Yeah. Well, if I have anything to say about it, they certainly will.
That's why you're here, Jerry.
Step
So,
on toes? Yes. Yeah. I mean, um, I was blessed to be in the right place at the right time with Occupy Wall Street to take what I learned from there to translate it with my own background as a debt collector to be able to say, this is a wrong. I need to write this. I rethought my profession. I rethought the industry. I rethought how our healthcare system is made up. And that's why RIP came into existence between me and Craig Antico to correct that wrong. And now we're going to do the same thing for veteran debt. To think
I
that
think
these
that's
people,
wonderful.
well, when you think about these people, these are they could be family, they could be cousins, they could be neighbors, but these people signed a blank check once upon a time when they raised their hands. And that check says, cashable by America at any time up to including my life. And they served with that check ready to be cashed if needed. And what happens when they get home? They have to jump through hoops that shouldn't be there. They have to worry their way through arguing with people on panels as to whether or not they deserve to get a
Well,
wrong rated.
when you get this little puzzle solved, there are a few more puzzles out there. I feel very strongly also that children, if they're going to be born in America, they need to get fed. They need to be housed. We need to help the mothers. We have waited way too long and just hope that women would keep on working as hard as they do for nothing to do all the things that are needed. I mean, we need to reevaluate our values and
Yeah.
put our footsteps where we say our heart is, so to
Yeah.
speak. So it's time for a change. It's time for a change. And while I know I'm one of those people from the 60s who thought they were going to make a big change in the world, and I haven't made the big change I wanted to make. But, I think that there's still big change that we can do. And one of the reasons that we're focused so much on health is because I think that we can make big changes in our own health and in the health system in the US.
Well,
And
take a
I'd
look
like
at
to
what the
think we can help.
well, take a look at what the founding fathers said. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Life does not exist if you're not healthy. All
Or
these
if you're
other
not
things
here.
just disappear. So we need, and I'll make it very blunt about that, some form of a single payer system. We need to eliminate the hogs at the trough and get a system that makes sense as opposed to makes money.
Well, we need, I'm not sure how to say this because I wouldn't even know how to affect it, but I've worked in Washington. I've worked on, quote, the Hill, unquote. I know what people up there do. I know where their considerations are. And you're exactly right. It's all around the people with the money. It's all around those people. That's how things are going on now. That's why the pharmaceutical companies can do nearly anything while they pay off hospitals and doctors, and hospitals and doctors are right there ready. So it's a system, and the insurance companies. So the Medicare was written, and I was there when that was going on, and people saying, well, we have to do this, it'll never get passed if we don't do this, we have to give them this, we have to give them that. Well, those times have passed, and now I think the people need to speak up. They need
Yeah.
to speak up and say, this is what I need, this is what we need. So I think those people can exist just fine and make plenty of money, but we don't need to put the money in their pockets. We need a good healthcare system, because without health and frankly without education, we're not going to have a democracy. So if we care about the lifestyle that we have, we've got to speak up.
From your lips to God's ears.
Yes, well, and God has been speaking, so I've been trying to listen.
He needs helpers.
He does need helpers. That's right. And I want more people to speak up. That's what we're here for, especially to get, I mean, we started with the idea that women are the ones that need to speak up. Women work hard. They're absolutely wonderful people. They have great hearts, but they don't speak up because they were told, like I was told, women should be seen and not heard, like children. And children were told that too. So, it's time that we got past that. It's way past time. And now is just the most important time to speak up. The most important time. Doesn't mean you have to be mean or terrible. Of course, I could be that way. But it doesn't mean that. It means that you say the truth when it's needed, that you say, that's just not true. This is what I've learned about this. And this is how I feel about this. You have a right to say, you have a right to speak up. And I hope that having people like Jerry and a few other people that we're now having at Women's Radio, I hope that they're encouraging you to get that work done. And Jerry, let me thank you for doing all the really amazing, amazing work that you've done and that you're continuing to do. And looks like you're just gonna keep right on going here. and and we talked about this before we started, and there are a number of good books that people ought to be introduced to. Did you want to show them some of those books, and maybe we can come back and talk about them specifically? So this is definitely first on the list, In Medical Debt.
Yep, this is the one that was co-written by the founders of RIP Medical Debt. This is the one that has the chapter about veterans, so you can see with your own eyes what we discovered when we researched that. Then there's a good friend of mine by the name of Marshall Allen. He wrote a book called Never Pay the First Bill. Anybody who has been having a hospital experience and billing experience, this is your go-to book. He's a magnificent writer. He was an investigative reporter for ProPublica, and then he realized that debt out there was so bad that he needed to pay attention to that. And then, of course, a good friend of mine, also by the name of Wendell Potter. This book is called Deadly Spin.
That's a great
And
title.
he's a former insurance company insider. He was an executive, and he was the spin master. His job was to do
Oh,
PR for insurance companies, and he says, "I've had enough of this. I can't do it anymore."
oh, wow. Well, could you
So
talk to him and tell him we'd like to talk with him too?
you're going
Like
to,
all of them. We'd like to have all of them.
well, um, I suppose I should give you my email address and website one more time.
Yes, yes, please do that so everyone will have it. Thank you.
Okay, Jerry, Jerry, at endveterandebt.org. And you can reach me by email at, did I say that? Jerry at endmedicaldebt.org. And of course, the website, endveterandebt.org. So thank you again for having me on the show. And I look forward to talking to some of your listeners and viewers.
I hope to as well. And thank you so much, Jerry. Thank you for all you're doing.